Welcome back to Patriot Network TV. It is another glorious day in paradise. Before we get into the meat of the story today, you might notice that I am wearing the newest in apparel. You might be able to read that, and for those of you who are of the age to remember what it means basically kill communists. If you'd like a shirt like this, you need to go to 87iq.com. And the Q-Man will have one flying its way to you as soon as is possible. And if you are a big supporter of the elimination of the single worst killing influence of the 20th century, communism, socialism, and you want to demonstrate your solidarity with those of us who understand that freedom is the only thing worth dying for, and communism is one of the major threats to freedom, you'll have to have this added to your apparel. So 87iq.com, Q-Man will get this out to you today. Now, in the news, what's in the news? The tragedy of the Connecticut school shooting. First of all, the disclaimer here. I don't have the ability to understand the depth of the despair of the parents and families of the children and the adults who were murdered by the madman. I just don't have that ability. No one does. I've had friends die. I'm struggling with cancer. I understand what mortality is, but to have your child ripped from you by a madman for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact that you're dealing with a crazy person, can't get it, can't wrap my brain around it. But I can wrap my brain around people like Rahm Emanuel and the President of the United States, whose motto is never let a crisis go to waste, sprint by each other, pushing each other out of the way to get to the cameras first. What's the most dangerous place in America? To be in between President Barack Obama and a camera. The idea that President Obama would go to Connecticut to politicize this issue is heartbreaking. When he gave the speech on Sunday night and mentioned these dear innocent children, one at a time, name by name, there was an audible gasp in the auditorium. And I thought it was the gasp of a parent who was going to jump up and punch him in the face and say, "Don't you dare profane the memory of my innocent child to extend your political ideology." Remember, these are people who politicize everything. We can't just bury the kids, hug the families, and say, it's a tragedy and we're sorry, but there's evil in the earth. We're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to say, in the heart of this madman who did the shooting, where was the voice that screamed out, "You will stand before the throne of God Almighty and face eternal damnation"? How can you murder these innocent children for recreation? How can you do this? There's no discussion of that, but there's plenty of discussion about abridging my rights and your rights as a free person in the universe. Now, it's important for everyone to get what I'm going to talk about today. The children that were murdered are a horrible event, but in a country of 1/3 of a billion people where we prize freedom and liberty, there are awful things that can and do happen. Now, statistically, are mass murders on the rise or on the fall? Over the last 25 years, they've gone down, not up. Statistically, are you safer today than you were 30 years ago? You are safer today. And beyond that, if you wanted to cure the problem, what would you do? Well, I'd refer you to my friend Professor John Lott, who has published repeated empirical, fact-based studies that demonstrate more guns mean less crime. I'd argue that the #1 cause of the crime that we witnessed in the Connecticut school shooting is evil. The #2 cause is the absolutely wrong-minded attempt to say this is a gun-free zone, whether it's a school, whether it's a church, wherever you want to say it's a gun-free zone. Law-abiding citizens will say, oh, certainly, I obey the law, I won't take a gun there. Who will violate that? Lawbreakers. Connecticut has very, very strict gun control laws. The young madman who did the shooting didn't own the weapons. His mother legally purchased the weapons. Now, first of all, I cannot in any way, shape, or form empathize, get my head around, my heart around how deeply hurt the parents and families are. And to them, I send my deepest condolences. But, and this is a huge but, you are not going to cure that by taking away my gun rights. The Constitution says in the Second Amendment, and I quote, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state." That's us, free. "The right of the people," you and me, "to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." It can't be made simpler. Shall not be infringed. And yet, every single day, there are calls by the well-meaning left to, and you can look at this on a continuum, you can say, well, they're well-meaning, but they're just misinformed. Or you can say, these are people who care only about increasing power, and every power that the government gains, it gains by taking a freedom away from you. My take on Rahm Emanuel, the former chief of staff for President Obama, and his attorney general, and the rest of the people in his administration, is that they are anti-freedom and anti-liberty. And the liberty that they hate the most is the liberty of the Second Amendment, the right of the people, you and me, to keep and bear arms. Now, I went down as a reaction to all of this blathering, talking head crapola about, oh, we've got to have a conversation about gun control. Have you heard that phrase, a conversation about gun control? I want to quote my old buddy, Bill Buckley. Okay, this, and by the way, direct quote, I write it down because I never want to get it wrong. Buckley said, "Liberals claim to want to give a hearing to other views. Let's have a conversation." Liberals claim to want to give a hearing to other views, but then are shocked and offended to discover that there are other views. There ain't going to be no conversation about gun control. There's going to be a monologue. And if you're a guy like me who's owned guns his entire life and never, ever committed a gun crime, never been arrested for anything, never done a thing to violate the agreement of the Constitution with my right to keep and bear arms, if you're someone like me and you say, look, I don't need a conversation, I don't use my gun to hurt people, and I have an absolute right, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their creator. The government didn't give me the right to have a gun. God Almighty empowered me to have a gun. And God Almighty did that because you are a citizen if you are armed. If you are unarmed, you are a peasant. You are a subject. You are not free. You don't enjoy liberty. So my reaction was to run down to the store and pick up a little AR-15 knockoff, a 5.56 NATO round, and pop a sight on it, do a few little nice touches to it, go over and get me a few 30 caliber, a few 30 shell magazines, a few, I'll leave it to your imagination how many that was, and to pick up a box of ammo, 5.56 by 45 mm, 55 grain, 420 rounds, or maybe I picked up 10, 12 boxes, I don't know. Got some ammunition, and while I was at the store walking up and down the aisles, I noticed that I could go ahead and for 12 bucks on sale, I could get the Gerber company out of Germany. They give me a really, really nice knife. And then I was so impressed, I thought, you know, one of these would be nice too. And then when I got home, I went online and I looked up bomb making on the internet. And I noticed that in, let's see, how did it take? Took 0.44 seconds to get 162 million hits about bomb making. And every one of the bombs that was described that I looked at, and I didn't look at all 162 million, but every one of the bombs that was described was capable of killing hundreds, if not thousands of people at a single setting. Now, I didn't hear anybody calling for Google to be put out of business. Now they're trying to put Remington out of business, they're trying to put Winchester out of business, they're trying to put Colt out of business, but I didn't see a single person say, you know, Google has 162 million descriptions of how to make a bomb and kill hundreds of people. Alrighty, we have 3 blurbs on this today. This is the end of blurb 1. We're going to come back and pick it up and talk more about what is the normal, rational reaction to what happened in Connecticut. God bless you and God bless these United States.